All right. Almost a week had passed since shoving off and sailing south. The skeleton crew of the Golden Goose pushed themselves day and night sailing across the summer sea south of Dorne until finally making their way north through the Broken Arm and past the Stepstones. The weather had been favorable, but there was a clear lack of conviction amongst the crew as to the payoff of their venture. Nearly half of them had lost their lives for believing the promises of an old man, a Greenlander, who was no longer living as far as most of the crew was concerned. The attempts on Claire had long ceased, as the mutual need for survival meant everyone was needed aboard the ship, even a comely woman. With time, Aroldis' injuries had healed, and as such he had been acting as a part of the crew in order to keep the ship sailing. Quickly running out of fresh water and food, many of the crew proposed raiding or stopping for resupply, but each attempt was turned back by Shadrack and the others. There was one destination and one destination alone, Dragonstone. So go ahead and feel free to discuss what you've been doing the last few days.
I'll go last.
Well, I'll go first then. Shadrack has been kind of making it known that he's the commander of this ship by, shouting orders, especially when needed. Like we need to row in certain parts because we're nearing Shipbreaker Bay, or at least the general vicinity.
Yeah, you're heading that way.
And so he's probably been, for the past 2 or 3 days at least, been picking up the whole, heavy-handed leader kind of aspect. Like he's, shouting commands and even joining in with his crew and rowing and pulling sails down and getting things ready, making sure they're heading in the right mooring and all that other stuff and direction. And that's about it. He wakes and sleeps the sail right now.
All right, Claire.
Well, for her part, Claire has been learning how to sail, learning about the ship and how it works and so forth, and trying to help out as much as she can, along with the crew sort of changing their attitude towards her. She is, grew up a peasant. She's not afraid of work, and so she's pitching in, trying to help.
Right.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say Aroldis has been first tending to his injuries and slowly healing, and then helping with the crew and doing what he could. He had some familiarity with boats, but not to the level of the Ironborn. With the passing of everyone's proverbial and literal hard-on for Claire, he was less vigilant with her and more about thinking to the future and what he was going to say to Daenerys when a bunch of Ironborn came looking to collect on a promise from a man no longer with us.
Okay. Were you going to say something, Rivers?
Oh, I was going to say that Shadrack might have actually stepped in and taught Claire the way of, or at least started attempting to, teach her how to, read a map or look at directions in the sea and understand what the equivalent of the North Star. I forget what it is in in Game of Thrones universe. God, I'd have to remember. I know it's written down somewhere in the Ironborn chapters, but
No, that's fine.
but yeah, teaching proper northing and how to stay in contact with not contact, but vision of the land, but far enough to where people from the land wouldn't be able to see the ship.
Makes sense. Okay, so you for the last few days you've been just working to try to keep the ship afloat and that sort of thing. So, one second. So Aroldis in particular knew the next 2 days would be the most dangerous. The ship was undermanned and running out of supplies, but the true threat remained House Blackfyre, whose waters the longboat now sailed. As the longboat reached the outskirts of Shipbreaker Bay, a man called out from the crow's nest, but it wasn't hard to spot even for those on deck. There were flames on the water. The sound matched the sight as men screamed, and the echo of a great battle was clear. Arrows flew between the ships, their hulls smashing into each other, and the men leaped from ship to ship, entering into hand-to-hand combat. Fires raged as some of the ships sank to the bottom of the sea, while others floundered as they waited for their fate. Men, face down, floated next to armored soldiers trying to strip off their anchors before sinking beneath the waves to be received by the drowned god. 2 banners were clear on the mast of the different vessels. Sable, a dragon, thrice-headed gulls, the banner of House Targaryen, and gulls, a 3-headed dragon breathing flame sable, the banner of House Blackfyre. Okay. So, here we are. This is the Battle of Shipbreaker Bay. As you come into you're outside. You're basically outside the actual bay, crossing that part there. And as the Golden Goose tries to navigate into this area, there's no way to turn around. You have to go this way to get where you're going, obviously. And as the Ironborn longboat, which is by far the smallest ship in this, where most of the others are large war galleys, you notice that one ship is coming from your starboard side and one is coming from the other side, and they're looking to pinch you and basically crush your hull by ramming your boat. So, Shadrack, please roll a warfare test.
Oh God, really? Yeah, that's fine. That is more than fine.
So, as the ships get closer, you're able to navigate out of the way of the ship's front, whatever that's called, and so they aren't able to ram you exactly. As you turn around, one of the ships actually comes alongside you and tosses over grapples and secures your longboat to their war galley. On your other side of your ship is a ship that seems to be floundering, as the one ship that would try to also pinch you sails by, missing the opportunity. Okay, so now you're pinched between 2 ships, one that appears to be floundering with the Targaryen banner, and the second a large war galley that is vaguely familiar. It, of course, flies the sigil of House Blackfyre. Over the rails jump 24 men, looking to attack the reavers on the Golden Goose. Most are sailors, which fill the ranks of most navies, but one is a heavily armored knight wearing ornate armor. That man peers across the deck, spotting Aroldis, and removes his helm for a moment. It was their former captor, known to Aroldis and Clair as Sir Arian Stormbreaker. He had taken Storm's End and was the executioner of King Stannis Baratheon, a famous man. Unlike their last meeting, Sir Arian was fully armored in plate mail, a large shield on his arm, and his long sword on his belt. Okay? So, let me switch the scene here.
Aroldis shouts, how's your ass?
He looks across the boat and he smiles and he says, "Just fine. We'll see how your gullet is after I run my sword through it." And he places his helm back on his head and steps forward. Okay?
Sure thing, Tristan. I mean, Arian.
Hey, you get a good picture, you gotta use it. Alright, so we lost Rivers. So I'll wait till he gets back, but
Right.
he dropped off Discord. But essentially, so as you kind of the grapples come over and you kind of slam together, it's not enough to like damage the hull, but what happens is Clair and Shadrack kind of fall off over the rails onto the Targaryen ship. And as the men run onto the deck, a couple jump onto the other ship, while the rest of them engage in hand-to-hand combat with the rest of the
So
Ironborn.
what did my roll do for me?
Oh, you didn't even you succeeded. If you failed, something bad would have happened. Essentially, what happened? So you didn't hear. So basically, the ships. There were two ships, two Blackfyre ships that tried to ram you from both sides. You were able to navigate around them, where you just came, instead of being like slammed and crushed into a billion pieces, you were able to navigate away from one ship that missed completely, and there was another ship that you came alongside instead, and they threw grapples over and pulled your ship closer. And what happened is, jumping over the edge were a bunch of here, actually look at the that boarded handout. So basically, pinched between two ships. One appears to be floundering with a Targaryen banner, and the second is a large galley that is vaguely familiar. It, of course, flies the sigil of House Blackfyre. Over the rails jump 24 men, looking to attack the reavers of the Golden Goose, most are sailors, which fill the ranks of most navies. But one is a heavily armored knight wearing ornate armor. That man peers across the deck, spotting Aroldis, and removes his helm for a moment. It is your former captor, known to Aroldis and Clair as Sir Arian Stormbreaker. He had taken Storm's Inn and was the executioner of King Stannis Baratheon, a famous man. Unlike their last meeting, Sir Arian was fully armored in plate mail with a large shield and a longsword. So essentially, Clair and Shadrack get knocked off your ship onto that Targaryen ship, and two jump after you. Okay, so the way this is going to work, so the only fighting has happened between Arian and Aroldis. The other two, you're going to be doing a series of skill challenges. Okay? So what we'll do is we will roll initiative for the two that are going to fight, which is Arian and Aroldis. Ah, crap. He's got
Yeah, I just heard him crap out at you.
So he didn't say anything through that, so I don't know if he heard any of it.
Just send him the YouTube link.
Yeah, here it is.
Start at minute 20. That's just getting ready to roll initiative.
Go ahead and roll it. We can roll it. That's fine.
Add 3 to this roll.
Okay. What is the 3 from?
-2 for my armor, +5 for Water Dancer 2.
Okay. We're going to go first. That's all that really mattered, who goes first. He's got full plate, so.
I'm going to wreck him. That's what I'm going to do. In classic Aroldis fashion, he snidely says to the full-plated warrior, Arian, "Bend over, because here it comes again." And then charges him.
Okay.
So, I'm going to have to manually roll this because I'm charging.
Yeah.
Alright, I think I got this right.
Should be
6
keep 4, right?
It's 96 because there's a 1B
yep.
training requirement, so let me make sure that's 9 dice. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So yeah, that's 15.
Let me see here. Okay, he's got large shield, so what's that? Plus.
Large shield is +4, and then full plate is -6.
Yeah, now he's got 4 to start. I just want to make sure. Oh, I didn't put it in. Okay. So that's versus an 8. That would be 2 degrees of success. Let's figure this out and then wait for him. So 2 degrees of success. What's your damage? 6?
It is 7 because I charged.
That's right. Okay, so 14.
So 14 minus 10.
Yep, 4. Yeah, let's wait. We'll give him like 15 minutes, and if he's not back in 15 minutes, we'll call it and do it next week sometime.
Oh, the anticipation of the attack.
I suppose I can attack. What was I gonna do? That's right, I had a plan.
Suck and die.
Claire's hanging from the rafters of that ship.
I was just gonna say, fucking going full monkey.
Well, I will attack just in case he does come back, and then he can. So he is going to.
He has a longsword, you said?
He does, yes. So basically, he takes the pommel of his blade and tries to bash you over the head with it. Okay, so he's going for knockout, and he's going to aim. So basically, he is rolling fighting against your passive endurance, which is 16.
Yeah.
Alright.
Knock out or knock?
Out. Knock out.
I thought you can only use that against an unaware foe.
Oh, you're right. You are right. Well, what am I going to do then?
I'm not going to help you beat me.
You back. Rivers, did you hear what I was saying about what happened?
I have no idea, but don't worry about it.
Okay, no, I'll just explain it really
is
quick.
already winning.
Yeah, so they're fighting, but I would say so. Aryan Stormbreaker showed up, and essentially, Claire and Shadrack kind of got knocked as your two ships collided. You were able to maneuver it where you didn't get just pummeled, but you were thrown over to another ship. The Targaryen. There's a Targaryen ship just floundered in there, and then two guys jumped after you, and you guys will be doing skill challenges while they fight. Okay.
Okay.
He will do a. What's your agility?
My passive agility?
Yeah, either one. Is it 20 or 16?
My passive agility is 25.
Oh, because of Water Dancer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I don't want to do that one.
There's one in particular. If he's got the stat for it.
He'll do a distract. What's your passive will?
My passive will is 12. Because isn't it base times 4?
Yeah.
That'd be 12.
Okay. So lesser distract. Miss.
To quote Ian, boom shakalaka. Better call the doctor.
Boom shakalaka, better call the doctor. Yep. That sounds like something that Ian, the inner city youth, would say.
21.
21 is 1 degree of success. My combat defense is 17. 12 base plus 2 offhand dagger. Left hand, excuse me.
5 damage.
So 2 damage.
Okay. All right.
Let me adjust this.
All right, I did it.
Whoa.
Sorry. Go ahead. Well, it's already done. But okay. So moving over to let's move over to Shadrack. So as you kind of stand up on the ship, a sailor jumps over and he has a net, and he basically flings it in your direction. So what is your combat defense?
Oh God.
It should be just in your sheet there.
It's 9.
9. Okay. So basically, he throws a net over top of you, and you're like entangled. So go ahead and give yourself one injury, and note that. That's how we'll basically count that as a what happened to you. So it won't take time to get back or anything like that, but it's just you're entangled. Okay. Claire. So a sailor jumps over and is in front of you, and he has a crossbow, and he raises that crossbow and shoots it at you. What is your combat defense?
I think Claire's is also a 9.
Yep. Well, you got hit.
Yep.
So you take an injury. Okay, so you both have -1 to your upcoming rolls. Aroldis, go ahead and do what you're going to do.
Quick question on the maneuver, the lesser action maneuver.
Yep.
Does that include bonus dice, or is that just a straight fighting roll?
Oh, I think you use your bonus dice too. Yeah.
Do I?
Yeah. I don't see why you wouldn't.
I honestly don't, because I'm going to do a maneuver, but I did not know if it was just similar to Berserker, where it's no bonus dice since it specifically says it in Berserker, or if it's you take into account bonus dice. So that was my question.
If it doesn't say, I would think you do. Because I mean, if Berserker's specific, I'd have to look at it, but.
Yeah, I was just using that as an example, just because
Yeah.
I think Berserker specifically says no bonus dice, where this one is vague. So I thought I'd clarify that.
Yeah, I think so, as far as I'm aware.
Well, in that case, I'm going to do a maneuver, and someone's gone.
Fuck. How is he having trouble with his phone, too? I wonder if his phone just keeps cutting out.
Nice.
Yep, so he gets a -1 for his test for 1 round. So
And I can move him.
Yep, you can move him, but he gets that awareness roll.
I know he'll pass it, but
Might as well, right?
unless, yeah, he might as well. He might blow that roll, or I could always spend a DP if he rolls close enough to bad.
Let's see. Let's see here.
I want to spend a DP.
He spends his own DP to negate your DP.
It's fine. Let me go change that to 0.
Yeah. So you've spent yours.
Ah, so close. All right, now my other lesser action will be an attack. So.
Yep. Same roll, huh?
Damn.
That is versus an 8. That's 3 degrees of success.
Versus an 8.
Yeah.
That would be 17, 4 degrees.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what's your damage?
That
5?
would be 5 times 4, 20.
20. So he would take 10. He can't take that many. He's gonna take a wound, I guess.
Wound or injury?
Wound. Well, let me think about that.
I was gonna say that's a pretty. I know I shouldn't be helping the enemy, but
No. So 10 for. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Take an injury.
Injury. I was gonna say that'll take off 4.
Yeah. Shit. Claire, how about you? Okay, so basically you're end up with a crossbow bolt in your shoulder, and the guy like runs across the deck and swings at you with basically a kind of a gaff, right, hook. So you can roll any one of your agility. You can roll quickness or dodge in agility, and it'll be versus his fighting in this case. Just doing things a little differently. Six, huh? Okay. You have 2 bonus dice. Don't forget. I'm sorry. You have 2 destiny points.
Yeah.
So 14. So he would that'd be 2 degrees of success for him. Now, do you want to do anything? Oh. Roll an extra dice and keep it. That's for your ravens. So 8. So that's still 2 degrees of success for him. Now, just let me know if you want to use a destiny point at any time.
Okay.
You can burn one to give yourself a +5. You have basically 6.
Well, I can burn one to transform another character's successful test into a failed test, so he just failed.
Okay, so if he failed, that would be... so that's what you want to do, burn one for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so let me think about this. So if he failed, he has to have a roll, so... His fail would be a 7, right? Because... I mean, yeah, it's below yours. It's kind of not exactly... How about I just give you the 2 degrees of success? That makes sense. Because it doesn't exactly make... The way I'm doing this, that doesn't exactly match up, right? You know what I mean? But that's okay. So you get 2 degrees of success instead. So he charges you, kind of move out of the way, and he bangs against the rail. So Shadrack, are you there? Shadrack?
I heard a beep.
I thought he was back.
What's happening to me?
Nothing's happened since the last time. You got a net thrown over you. Remember that?
Yeah. Can I affect this guy attacking me or what?
So it's not actually an attack. You're doing a series of skill challenges. So that was the first skill challenge. So the next one is you both roll fighting grapple. Fighting. I think it's like brawl. Fighting brawl. So I know you don't have that, but whatever your fighting brawl would be. So whatever your fighting is. It's going to be a contested skill challenge.
4 then.
Go ahead and roll.
Just
or do you want me to roll for you? Whatever's easiest.
It'd be easier if you did it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Okay, so... So you rolled a 16. He rolls... Oops. And 6. 3 degrees of success for Shadrack. Okay? So basically I'm just counting successes. So I'm going through doing contested skill rolls, and at the end we're going to see who has the most successes for you guys. So it is Arian's turn, right?
Yes.
And he has a -1d to his attack, correct?
And a -1 for an injury.
And -1 for an injury, correct. So he is going to catch his breath.
Aroldis, seeing that he doesn't press his own attack, laughs. What's the matter, Arian? That armor too heavy for you? You seem to be slowing.
He doesn't say anything. Just kind of shifts behind his shield a little bit. So it's, go ahead, Aroldis, you can go.
Alright, Aroldis looking at him, mocks him some more and goes, look at your fleet as it sinks in the bay, in an attempt to distract him. I will roll cunning against his passive will. You will soon be sinking, much like your allies.
Got it.
I got it. Alright. So that just subtracts his awareness for his combat defense.
Figure out what that is. His awareness. Oh, God. So he's down to 5.
Aroldis kind of does a little back and forth, like a boxer before the dancing. Keep staying light on his feet. And goes, here, I think I see a weakness in your armor right there, as he stabs forward with his Bravosi blade, doing another 20 damage.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's 20 damage.
So another 10 points.
He's got to take a wound here. Well, actually, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's just gonna let it ride, because he caught his breath, right? So he's down to 2 again. Claire.
Yes.
So he is trying, basically, as you fumble about, he's trying to run around the ship after you, kind of. So there's a bunch of just shit just thrown everywhere, and you can use the ship to your advantage, from what you've learned from Shadrack. So it's a cunning decipher between the two of you. If you don't have decipher, just roll cunning.
Okay.
One degree of success for Claire. So as he tries to get to you, you are able to... Well, what do you do to try to gain the advantage on this guy using something around you?
Claire ducks around the mast, and there's a pulley hanging there on a rope. So she swings it around at his head, and he has to duck to keep from taking it in the face, and then she runs away.
Okay. So let's just continue with the combat, and when he gets back on, we'll just do his. So Arian gets sliced again, and he grumbles and basically does a reckless attack, seeing that his defense does not matter at all. He basically grips the sword as hard as he can and comes over with a big overhead chop. So that's going to be... I gotta do this manually. 8d6, keep 6. 23. 2 degrees.
2 degrees.
It's 10 damage.
7 points of damage gets through.
You want to take it, or do you want to take an injury?
I'm going to take it.
Okay.
I'll be down to 3 now. 3 points.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Aroldis.
Aroldis, quite annoyed that he got through with that attack through his defense. Says, you're getting slower with each swing, Arian. Surrender while you still have the chance. And as he's saying surrender, he naturally... I'm just going to do an aim attack here. Actually, he did change that. He did a reckless attack, so I'm going to do a cautious attack.
Let me see. So I rolled a 22. Is that still 2 degrees of success? It is, right? 22 versus 17, correct?
Yes, it is. That's
Okay.
still 2 degrees.
Because I didn't average in his injuries, so I just want to make sure. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do cautious. So
Reckless is -5, right? Yep.
so 18.
That is versus. Oh man. So let's see. That's 3 degrees.
So 15 damage minus 10, so 5 points.
Take another injury, which is gonna be like this. Whoops. What the hell? So he takes 1 hit point essentially, and then another injury. Right?
Yep.
Claire. So as you are running around with this guy, the mast on the Golden Goose from basically what happens is another ship rams the Golden Goose, rocking Arian and Aroldis on deck, and the mast kind of snaps over and falls towards the Targaryen ship that you're on. You need to avoid it. The ravens circle overhead trying to give you notice. So you both roll awareness notice. Two degrees of success for you. So basically you leap out of the way and the mast almost hits this guy on the top of the head and he has to dive out of the way. Okay, so you're up 5 successes to none currently. Arian. So Arian takes another injury, and you can't see the blood that's spilling from inside his armor, but he does the same thing in reckless attacks. Swinging basically as hard as he can, adding in the -2. 25.
That is. Did you? Okay, that is subtracting 2. So let's see. I did cautious attack, so that takes my.
Oh, you did a cautious attack?
20. That's a success of 5. That's still 2 degrees. Yep. So that's 10. What? 10 minus 3 is 7. So I have to take 2 injuries.
Okay, I'll set it.
And that negates all the damage.
Yep. Okay. So he swings down and it cuts you again. And he's like, "You're not laughing now, Bravosi. Shut your mouth and fight me."
Oh, I agree. I'm not laughing anymore. So I will be ending this. Let me update my injuries, see if this rolls properly. I'm going to do a lesser action maneuver and a lesser action standard attack. So let's do the maneuver first. That is a success. I'm not going to attempt to kick him off the side again. This is just to affect his ability to attack me.
Okay.
And then,
I mean, he could miss the roll. I mean,
sure, I'll try. You know what? I'll try and knock him over. You never know. He's got what, -2 to his roll. You never know.
You just barely got it, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, I really just need to make you roll, apparently. And then Aroldis goes, "Oh, careful, careful! You're getting a little close to the edge, Arian," and attacks.
19. That's going to be 3.
What is the -5?
Yeah, he had 8. He has 8 base, so
8 base, so -5.
So he's got 3. So
I succeeded by 16.
Yep, 3 degrees.
That's 4 degrees.
4 degrees. Yep, 4 degrees.
So 10 more damage to him after subtracting armor.
He has to take a wound this time.
Aroldis
well,
kind of
let's see.
smirks.
No,
Is that serious enough? Is that serious enough, Stormlander?
All right, Claire. So as you both kind of spill to the ground as the mast hits the ship and breaks part of the deck and caves it in to the bows of the ship, You both kind of fall to the ground, diving out of the way, and your head rings from the wood and splinters that fly overhead. So you have to roll an endurance stamina to kind of shake it off, right?
All right. Endurance.
That's him. 1 degree of success for him. So he's able to get up just a little quicker than you. So Arian Stormbreaker, who is having some issues currently, rears back and swings as hard as he can once more. There's no going back at this point. And so he's basically rolling his... he actually is going to aim this time, which I don't think I've been doing.
Well, with reckless attack, isn't that a greater action?
Oh, is it? It is.
It is. Find out.
It absolutely is. I have the book right open right here. So he's just going to roll his normal thing because he's got a wound, -2. So this will be -2, whatever the roll is.
That's -2d because I maneuvered him as well.
Okay. Let me, well, shit.
Well, don't even worry about it. That's a miss.
Yeah, it's a miss anyway. Okay. So he swings and whiffs. Arian.
Aroldis laughs and, ha ha ha, I've learned your tricks, or what little energy you have left is proving fruitless.
So are you. Good.
Oh, Aroldis, knowing that he can't take many strong attacks like that, continues to maneuver his opponent in a manner that prevents him from bringing the full weight of his swings down on the Bravosi, and once again maneuvers, promptly following it with a rapid thrust to a weak spot in his armor. So that will be maneuver, which is a fail.
Oh shit! Hold on.
Oh.
So you're maneuvering him, right? So
I maneuvered him. So
let me re-roll because he's going on 3d6 keep 2. So actually it'd be 7. So he got.
Well, I failed though because he has a what, fighting a 5.
I thought Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yep. So I failed. So he didn't even need to roll.
Actually, hold on. He might have 4 in expertise. So let me look. He has fighting 5. Okay, yeah. Okay, so so 17. That's gonna be 2.
What
degrees.
is it? A 3 we determined.
Yep.
Since he reckless attacked.
Yep. 2 degrees, right?
14. 3 degrees for 14.
3 degrees. 3 degrees. Got him.
So another 5 damage.
He's at the point where he has to take another wound. Just.
Aroldis shouts the medieval equivalent of Boom Shakalaka. Somebody better call the maester.
All right, so Claire. So basically, you both get to your feet, and you see this. He does get to his feet a little bit, but he is just not exactly. All his faculties aren't there, and you basically have a chance to finish this by. You see this shard of a wooden stake nearby, and you can stab him with it if you can commit cold-blooded murder. So will dedication. See if you can fight on. One degree of success. So Claire, go ahead and finish this guy off. You beat him 6 successes.
Okay, well, Claire sees the sharp wooden stake, kind of dodges around it, waits for this guy to come lunging her way, And as he does, he's sort of off balance. She grabs his shoulders and just powers him on down onto the stake.
And he kind of falls onto the stake and looks up and spits up blood and kind of tries to reach up for you, and the ravens kind of fly down to his face and begin pecking out his eyes. Okay. Sir Arian. Sir Arian, Sir Arian, Sir Arian. God. Sir Arian does the only thing he can do in reckless attacks. Let's see. He has... So he's going to roll 7 and keep 3. Correct? Or no, keep 2. Maneuver
does
and
he
2
have 3
wounds.
wounds? Yeah,
Yes,
no, I
yes.
failed the maneuver, remember?
Oh. So he only has 2 wounds, so he'll keep
Minus
3.
2d and minus... Well, how many? He's got 2 injuries?
Yeah, so he's going to roll... he'll roll 7. Keep 3. Minus 2.
Yep.
76. Keep 3 minus 2. 15. Miss.
Yes, sir. Aroldis kind of leaps to the side and looks at him and sneers and says, Arian, you had your chance. Don't worry. I'll make it quick. Internal dialogue for Aroldis. I think I'm going to kick him over the side and let him drown. So let's see. We'll continue to maneuver him. That's a success.
Yep.
Over the side if he fails.
So he keeps 1 dice.
Oh,
Basically.
dear.
Minus 2 as well. Roll.
That's pretty much an automatic
3d6,
failure.
keep 1 minus 2. Yep, there's no way he can succeed.
With a laugh, Aroldis says, Arian, remember when I said I would kill you quickly? I lied. And then kicks him in the chest over the side into the water.
So he makes a humongous splash as he just kind of smashes into the water in his, 100-pound armor. And you see his helmet come off and his face look up, and he starts to try to strip off his armor, which is essentially impossible anyway for one person. And fairly quickly he just disappears.
Aroldis.
Claire, who has been in close association with the Ironborn for entirely too long, cackles out in exultation to the drowned god to take this one slow.
Aroldis puts a foot up on the railing and puts his hand up and does the wave where it's just the fingers, the very mockingly bye-bye. And then turns to face his next foe.
All right, Rivers, are you there?
More or less for now.
Okay, let's do some Shadrack stuff then. So essentially, Aroldis kicked Arian Stormbreaker over the edge of the ship, and he drowned. And Claire succeeded in her skill challenges. So the next thing is the guy tries to grapple you. So we're going to do fighting grapple between each other.
Didn't we do this last time?
Oh, did we do the grapple? I thought we did the net. Oh, yeah, we did.
No,
you got
we
plus
did,
3.
we did.
I'm sorry. Just had...
It was 3 degrees of success from
Yep.
what I recall,
Yep.
and then I was so rudely interrupted.
Yep, sorry.
It should be fixed now, quote unquote, now.
Okay.
Famous last words, but
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think you would care since this is all stat stuff for everybody else, and we just kind of waited on
Nope.
you. If that's okay, I mean...
no, I do
we'll
not
continue.
care.
If we get to roleplay and you're disconnected, I will not continue. Okay?
Yeah, no,
So-
this is all fine. Hell, even roleplay is fine. Like Shadrack's not really my character.
No,
so.
I'm not. That doesn't matter. I'm not going to exclude you from this game if you have technical issues. I'm not going to do it. So you're basically grappling around. You have the advantage, but he kind of pulls a knife and tries to stab you with it. So you can use essentially any of your agility. I'll probably dodge or contort. Do you want me to look and see what you have? And
I can see it right now.
Okay.
He doesn't have anything but agility, so
Yeah.
just the base stat.
Okay. So you want to go ahead and do you want me to roll or do you want to roll it?
Fuck it, I'll hit it.
Okay. Or you can type in the roll 3d6, keep 3, or just 3d6, whatever.
I should have done it correctly.
Okay. So okay. 9. So he's rolling. Whoops. 4. So he gets a success. So basically, he like kind of plunges it into your side, and you get a wound. Actually,
A whole wound? Armor doesn't apply?
no. This is skill challenges, and Shadrack has the most difficult one actually, and there's reasons for that, and all you'll find out. So basically, stabs you to take a wound because you had -1 to that roll anyway. So because you already have an injury, right? Yeah, because you're entangled. So basically, at near the same time, the mast falls from the Golden Goose as it is cracked by another ship that comes in, and you basically look up and notice it at the last minute, the mast falling down. So roll awareness notice, keeping 1 less dice. Eight. Okay, 2 degrees of success for him. Alright, so at the very last minute you jump out of the way and it crashes into the ship, and he seems to move a little quicker and is still up on his feet as you're knocked down to your knees. Your head like rings from the impact, and so you need to roll endurance stamina. No change. So basically, you get up at, looks like you basically have your wherewithal at the same time. And at the time, he comes over, basically again grabs you by the shoulders and tries to like throw you overboard. And he's kind of pushing you, and you're pulling and just like kind of grappling there on the rail. So athletics, strength, or I will take fighting too, whichever stats you think are best. So athletics, strength, or fighting, raw. Or even, I would even allow agility, some sort of agility.
Well, the thing is, you know what? I'm going to have him lose automatically with my destiny point.
Oh,
and I'm going to roll fighting.
You're going to have who lose?
He's going to fail his roll. If he's
that
doing
guy?
fighting
Yeah,
against me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to roll fighting, and he's going to automatically fail his roll.
Yep, so that's 3 degrees. Yeah, so his failure, so what I did, yeah, okay. All right, so let me just count something up real quick. Yeah, okay. So as you're kind of like grappling there on the edge, he kind of has you bent over the rail, and all of a sudden you kind of turn and grab him by the back of the head and just kind of toss him into the water. And he kind of like starts swimming, but he can't get back up on the ship. And yeah, so he basically tries to swim away. All right, so here we're gonna do some handouts. All right, bear with me 1 second. All right, we'll do Aroldis first. With Sir Arya and Stormbreaker defeated before the Braavosi, the ranks of the Blackfyre begin to flee off the Golden Goose that is slowly being torn apart from being smashed between two much larger ships. With the decanter given to Aroldis secured, the Braavosi looks upon the carnage of the watery battlefield all around them. It appears that the loss of Sir Arya is spreading. Demoralized, the Targaryen fleet is victorious. Okay. And then next would be... Claire clutches her sack with a dragon egg as if it were the only thing in the world, a babe in the world without children. It was, after all, just that. The dead and broken surrounded her on the ship and in the sea. The abandoned Targaryen ship began to drift away from the Golden Goose that collapsed before her. Okay. And Shadrack struggled with the man, slamming against the rail over and over again, but somehow the captain turned the tables on his attacker, and with a violent shove sent the man overboard into the water. The weight of his armor drug him down from sight within moments. Staggering, Shadrack watched helplessly as the Golden Goose crumbled before him, and only the fewest of his men looked to have survived. Okay, so you guys feel free to roleplay. I'm sure Aroldis wants to jump the fuck off there.
I think Shadrack is going to give like a resounding call to his men to jump ship to the Blackfyre ship and commandeer it.
Yep. And so the remaining Ironborn leap over the edge. It's not that far at this point, and
yeah, I think Shadrack has just yelled to the guy and the last like thing to grab our like sailing flag, and from the goose or the bird's eye.
So,
and as he comes down.
Yep. So a man climbs up the crow's nest as quickly as he can, and reaches onto what's left of the mast. It got tangled in the ropes. And so the banner is still there, and he grabs it and scales down and leaps overboard and to keep the sigil of the Golden Goose.
Aroldis helps the Ironborn over and kind of jovially and very, very laughingly is, "Welcome aboard my ship. It's a improvement to what we were on."
Yeah, so now you're on this humongous war galley, essentially.
No, I'd hate to tell you this, Aroldis, but this isn't your ship. This is mine. And he kind of smiles as he's holding his side.
Claire?
Some nonsense about the iron price and whatnot.
Slaps him on the shoulder. Laughs.
Well, let's be on our way.
Claire runs up the Targaryen banner. Now, boys, it's the Queen's ship.
Shall we rendezvous or hail one of the, I guess I don't know how you'd really identify one of the flagships based on maybe, what they're waving on their mast or whatever, but probably wouldn't be a bad idea to speak with someone so they don't feel like they need to commandeer this ship or do something with it.
I mean, there must be some sort of not truce flag, but
break out the semaphore flags.
Obviously, they could. The flag that I was referring to that they would have is the Ironborn flag.
Right, the one that are guaranteed to get us attacked.
Yeah, well, nobody on this side of the Seven Kingdoms has seen an Ironborn ship in ages.
Well, your ship is a Targaryen ship, actually, that you're on now.
Oh, okay. Well, then hoist up the Targaryen one.
Yeah, it was just floundering. It was like all the people were killed or whatever.
Okay.
But after some time, basically the fleet of the Targaryen ships have routed the Blackfyre ships that flee back into Shipbreaker's Bay, and leaving you out there. You're just kind of sitting out there, and a ship comes by. Basically, they're looking like, "Oi, who are you?" Because they don't recognize any of you, obviously, and they see a bunch of sailors. They can't probably know they're Ironborn, but they don't recognize you.
Aroldis will shout out, "I am Aroldis, servant of the true queen and agent of Lord Ian Spire." Off camera, I don't know how well known that name is within Daenerys' lands.
Oh,
but
I mean, as from what it seems like, I'm Daenerys' moneymaker. Like, people would know my name just because I made money. Like, I made money out of nothing.
Yeah. So the guy he nods and he's like, "Aye, we were looking for you. Good to see you're alive. Where's the old man?"
we need to speak to the commander. We have found out much. He remains in Old Town.
The guy just kind of nods and he's like, "We'll take you in. We're heading back now. That's why we were here. For you, of course." And
of course.
He's like, I hope this was worth it. Many people were killed here today."
It was. I assure you it was.
All right. So, 1 second. So with the death of Aryan Stormbreaker, the Blackfyre fleet fled into Stormbreaker's Bay and back to Storm's End. It was an unlikely victory as the Targaryen fleet had made a desperate attack. No one knew why the Queen had ordered the attack save herself. The gamble paid off and House Blackfyre had suffered a terrible defeat. On the ship returning to Dragonstone, Aroldis stood on the bow of the ship, a hero. Idly, the Braavosi looked at the decanter given to him by Marwyn idly as they came into port. And let me read a couple other things.
Aroldis points at Claire.
That's for me. This is a lot of written text. So, next to Aroldis was Claire, his companion over the last month and a half. The ravens circled overhead, and her pack was the lone dragon egg they had secured from the citadel. As they pulled into the port of Dragonstone, the end was at hand. Soon the egg would be in the hands of the Queen, and the whole world would change. For Shadrack, the golden goose was lost. There seemed to be a bright future ahead. Although most of his crew was dead, it seemed the time to attach himself to something greater than reaving and banditry. The rightful Queen of Westeros could be that thing. Okay. So, give me 2 seconds here. Sorry, this is complicated. All right. So you sail into port of Dragonstone, and there's a lot of ships about currently based on your activity and the fighting. Some are damaged, some are almost completely destroyed, but everybody, there's been lots of singing, and Aroldis and Claire and Shadrack, everybody's been very, very kind to you on your way back. So as you pull into port, what do you do? What's your role play for this situation?
Aroldis is very much going to let everyone know that it was him who killed Aryan Stormbreaker quite easily, as everyone can attest to, and sent him to the bottom of Shipbreaker Bay. In addition to that, he's going to make sure the most attractive, lovely ladies of Dragonstone, with their Valyrian fair hair, know who he is and how amazing he is, and waits for the time to be called upon by his queen. He still plans on being truthful and the King's Landing and finding this person that he'll know when he sees, and turning over the decanter. But in the meantime, he has a duty to his queen to see Claire and the dragon egg delivered. And he will at one point lean over to Claire and say, eventually during the bedding ceremony, when you're eventually wed, these crows are really going to make things awkward.
Claire just laughs at that.
All right, so what's Claire thinking as she comes into port?
Well, foremost, she's glad that this ordeal is over, that they've made it back successfully, that as far as she knows, Ian's alive, Aroldis is alive, their new friend Shadrack is alive, so she's pretty happy with that outcome, and more than anything else now, she wants to get this egg to the queen and no longer have it be her responsibility.
Yep. Shadrack, how do you feel after losing your ship and most of your men? Rivers, you there?
He's so devastated, he's speechless.
Oh, no, my bad. I was.
No, it's okay.
Shadrack's honestly kind of relieved as we get like a final shot of him walking off the ship. He's got like a wicked kind of smile, and in the back of his mind, he's thinking, well, at least that problem's dealt with, and he doesn't have to deal with it anymore. You know, the mutinous men aboard his ship. Now, obviously, he has a few that are, if not loyal now, then would be going forward.
Smallfinger.
Is Smallfinger still alive, or?
Let's say he is. Yeah, he survived.
Yeah, he probably is kind of sharing a knowing glance with Smallfinger, and you know, Smallfinger's one of his loyal dudes, so
yeah,
he kind of
Smallfinger can't wait to find the boys in town.
he just smiles, and you know, he's holding his side where he got stabbed, and he probably like looks over the situation of the grand castle in the background, and you know, steps to it. He's got a appointment to keep.
All right, the ship pulls into the dock, and after 15-20 minutes of getting set there, they drop the gangplank and they usher you forward. You walk out onto the dock and up this very, very long journey, which you almost forgot about, up into Dragonstone itself, in the hospitable castle on the way up. And finally you enter, and you're met with sycophants and courtesans of all types, and they're basically cheering your entrance. And there's a healer. He's not a maester because there is none, but a healer that looks at Aroldis and immediately bandages him up, and you're basically in the holding area for some maybe half an hour, very, very, very short time, based on what normally would be, and then you're ushered up back to the chamber of the painted table, once again where this all started. And standing over Shipbreaker Bay is Daenerys Targaryen, looking down at just a ton of little pieces where somebody has planned out the battle that has just happened. And she looks up and she has a very large smile on her face until she realizes somebody is missing. And she nods and she's like, "Were you successful? Do you have them? Do you have them?"
Well, and when they get in and see the queen, Claire gives a bow.
I think Shadrack is actually going to try something here. Do I still have my -1 dice?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Well, I'm going to attempt something here. So, expertise gives me 5, I think. 5?
Why don't you just roleplay it? Because I don't have stats for her or anything set. So
I was going to use...
You're trying what I think you're trying?
Yeah, he's going to be trying to seduce her. And it's more like when Ian said he was leading me to the grandest treasure in all the 7 kingdoms, well, I wasn't thinking he was explaining it being you.
And she kind of just out of hand ignores you for the moment, based on just waiting for Claire's and Aroldis's response to her question.
Aroldis, Aroldis's eyes almost roll out of his head upon that opening salvo from Shadrack, and bows and goes, "Your Grace, don't have all three. You have one, and things are a little more complicated than we thought."
He's like, where are the other two?
Well, you should point to Ian's letter, everyone.
Yeah,
and
Claire has the letter.
Claire, yeah, at this point, Claire is delivering the egg and the letter to.
So she takes
Daenerys
she takes up the egg and kind of looks at it like reverently and just holds it in both of her hands, and it's this black dragon egg, and she's like, I've been looking for this, and she just kind of like clutches it to her chest and kind of
Claire would tell her, as far as we know, milady, it is the dragon egg.
And she frowns, and you see a small tear roll down her cheek as she laments the loss of 2 children.
Aroldis. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Aroldis kind of interjects and goes, "My queen, I don't know for certain if the other 2 eggs are there. However, there is definitely something," and Aroldis kind of tries to think of the way to express it, magical going on in Old Town for an individual that helped us leave was some sort of half-dragon human hybrid. I am not sure if that was the fate of one of the eggs, but it was definitely a dragon of some kind at some point. I do not know if it was one of the eggs that you asked us to find.
Out of character, as far as I know, right, that was one of them. I don't know what became of the other one, but as far as I know, the Maester led us to believe that it...
Marwyn said, he straight up said, "I tried to hatch one. This is the result." He straight up said that.
Okay, for some reason I don't recall that. So in that case, Aroldis amends it to, "This is the result," and it retells the tale as, "This is the result of one of the 3," and explains the draconian soldier, so to speak.
And she kind of like touches her lips, and she doesn't look all that surprised, honestly. She also has in her employ, people from Essos that you would think of like hedge wizards and stuff like that, but they've never shown any sort of power, right, like this. But she doesn't seem like completely taken aback of that. And Claire, yeah, she hands over the letter, but she looks at it and she nods and she's like, "What is this?" And she takes the letter, but doesn't like let go of the dragon egg, and kind of pops the seal, and she's like, "Where is Lord Ian?"
And Claire says, "The letter is from Lord Ian, my lady. I expect it will explain all."
All right.
Because as far as Claire knows, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. So, Rivers, why don't you go ahead and read Lord Ian's letter as she reads it.
My dearest Queen Daenerys, I have done what I could. We have been accosted on all fronts on our journey, but we have accomplished what we came for. Though, as you will see, the one egg is all that were. I'm sorry that we weren't able to find more, my queen. One had been hatched already and was a failed attempt. The other, Marwyn knew not of. The lands around the citadel are in a terrible and ghastly state. Ghosts of their former selves, and even the shadows amongst the land are present. It's empty, desolate. As Aroldis and Claire will explain in my stead, the Reach's lands are tainted, much like those I've heard stories of about Ashai by the Shadow. There's a great evil here. Even the shadows move. I only wish you knew the struggles we'd gone through to get here. If you could have just seen the bravery of the two that you sent with me to aid me. But that brings me to my next point. Marwyn spoke very plainly with all of us, and used no trickery, that I promise you, my queen. He is trying to remedy the land here, undo this curse he did bestow upon it. before it grows even more. And I must admit it pained me greatly to make the decision I did, but I hope you won't hold it against me. Marwyn desired help. No, he needed it. He as much said so himself, though he hadn't need to. Seeing the lands that rightfully belong to you, tainted as they were, and the danger that this place will provide for your people, I couldn't allow for this to be the case. I've always been a supporter of your house and lineage. Will forever be. And that brings us to the next point of my letter, my queen. As you know, my wife and son were casualties in the wars, although I needn't tell you that. I had no heir to inherit my titles and lands upon our dealings. Our deal, however, stands. Claire is to be my heir. For intents and purposes, she is my child. As such, my titles are hers. She doesn't know my intention, I imagine, nor did I see fit to burden her with any more than she'd be able to take at this moment. Now, for another part, my queen, the young man Shadrack is quite possibly a key to the Ironborn. He's a known scholar like myself, and it would be wise to seek his help, for you may require his martial prowess in maritime pursuits going forward. I've made a deal with him. Please consider it before sending it wildly away. On our journey, he had been the only one that dealt with us kindly on our way. Honestly, he was and has played a huge part in our success. Please treat him fairly and kindly. My time is short, my queen. Know that I am doing everything I can to help you from afar. I pray the old gods watch me. Fire and blood, the Inspire. A further note. Direct Shadrack to the three sisters first. Tell him I said it would be personal.
So Danny leaves the note there, and can Clair and Aroldis read? I don't think so.
Aroldis can.
He has language 3. So she kind of just pushes the note for general viewing for whoever wants to read it. And she nods, and she's like, Claire. She's like, Lord Ian has some fine words for you. Do you know what he's said?
Claire shakes her head, honestly, has no idea. No, my lady.
He's asked that I grant you his holdings and his future holdings. I am inclined to agree. I sit here with an egg that I could have not gotten without you. And at that, the ravens kind of left you alone as you went through the castle, but they come through the opening in the side of the chamber of the painted table and kind of land just generally everywhere, and she kind of looks around somewhat surprised. And then,
yeah, that ought to freak her out a little bit.
And she kind of looks at Aroldis and then back to Shadrack, and he's like, what say you, Claire? She doesn't really react to the birds so much, though.
Well, it takes a moment for that to really penetrate, for it to really sink in what she's just said. Claire's eyes widen, and she looks at Daenerys, at first like, are you kidding? And sort of blinks, and I don't know what to say, my lady. I would be honored. And she looks at Shadrack and Aroldis and says, I couldn't have done it without these two.
She kind of nods, and she's like, I want you to understand what this means. This doesn't just mean that you would take Lord Ian's holdings currently, his small island and his men-at-arms there. But I agreed that he would claim the Stormlands. And that is Storm's End. It is a huge swathe of, land and power. You will need to surround yourself with strong, capable servants. I will not send you off to flounder. I will assist you, but they are yours. By fire and blood, it is my decree. You are the Lady of the Stormlands, Lord Paramount of Storm's End. When we
And
take
again, Claire's taken aback. That may be a little bit more even than the peasant girl from Flea Bottom can fully wrap her head around. She may not even completely understand
what that means, yeah.
Everything that means, yeah. So she bows deeply, and I will do my best to serve you, my lady.
She nods, and she's like, I believe you will. And as she kind of says that, the ravens kind of take flight, and just as many that will fit basically land on Claire's shoulders and kind of like all kind of caw at the same time. And she kind of narrows her eyes at, such witchcraft, and she's like, I believe they will have a name for you. Lady Raven, perhaps. And she smiles and she's like, Stormborn has always served me well. Us women must have some sort of, well, it's boring to go around just being called by your name, I suppose.
I suppose Claire would chuckle at that.
And she gives you kind of like almost a motherly smile and touches you on the shoulder where she can around the ravens. And
between some ravens.
Yeah. And she kind of looks over to Shadrack and she's like, I assume you're the one named Shadrack.
That would be my name, Lady Daenerys, or my Queen Daenerys. That would be such a thing men would call me.
She's like, you don't look like a Ironborn, although your tongue seemed to fit the mold when you walked in. I do not.
Well, excuse me for enjoying fine beauty, my queen.
She kind of chuckles and she's like, yes, I do have somewhat of a soft spot for malcontents and lowborn types, but an Ironborn, I can't say I've ever had the pleasure.
He just kind of smiles and says, well, the late Lord Ian, as I recall, is struck a deal with me, but I'd be willing to talk terms with you.
She kind of chuckles and she's like, I'm sure. I am sure. Well, whatever his deal, it's not really my say. It is Lady Claire's decision. She is his heir and makes all decisions based on his lands herself. So long as it does not impede my desires. Why don't you tell me about this deal that you made?
Well, originally he was to let me and my Ironborn stay as a host and give us some ships to go gallivanting across the sea. Thirst for adventure, you see, the Ironborn are all about that. I had simply desired to see the world as it was. I consider myself somewhat of a learned man, and I desired to know more of it.
Her eyebrows raise, and she's a learned Ironborn? I did not believe there was such a thing.
Yes, I know. The stereotype is proceeding, I would say.
She's like, is that still what you wish to do? Go and reave and find adventure? Or do you wish to be the man that helped capture Storm's End for Lady Claire? We would be the second to do it in the history. It is time that we took it back from my, well, distant cousin.
Well, I don't exactly have any other men to impress, and I suppose they wouldn't be against the ones that remain to besieging a settlement known as the Storm's End, and it's rather befitting someone claimed to be the Stormbreaker, or Stormborn, should take said castle. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Something I could put a name, a moniker behind. Shadrack the Stormbreaker.
Last Stormbreaker's in the bottom of the bay.
Well, that was quite a showing, I must say, Aroldis. If I wasn't too wrapped up, I would have sold entrance fees for such a thing.
And she kind of looks over from Shadrack to Aroldis, and she's like, yes, I heard. I heard the famous Aryan Stormbreaker is swimming with the fishes.
He is, Your Grace. Once his death was discovered amongst the Blackfyre fleet, they quickly crumbled to the Targaryen ships.
And she nods and she's like, that is a relief. I did not know that it would come to such a thing. And she kind of looks at the candle burning. It's like sat basically where the wall used to be, and it's a green glass candle. And she's like, I knew that you would need my help, and so I sent the fleet. But what is it you desire, Aroldis? You have been in my service for quite some time, but never have you asked me of any boon. Today is the day. I am feeling, well, quite generous, as you have seen.
Your Grace, serving you is all I require, though I would never say no to fine weapons and fine women. I did make a promise to go to King's Landing. It is a promise I intend to fulfill, but when I return, wherever you need me next is where I shall be.
And she smiles and she's like, I, for some reason, do not believe you have any need of my help with the fine women or the fine blades. Well, perhaps I might be able to do something there. And she kind of looks down, looks up, and she's like, what do you need to go to King's Landing for?
Aroldis kind of laughs and he goes, there is something, as the letter entailed, there is something horribly wrong in Old Town, and it is something far beyond my ability to fight. However, it seemed to me that the Archmaester was indeed true to his word, that he is trying to fight whatever has been unleashed, and part of that fight is me going and finding someone in King's Landing. I do not know who it is, but I have been told I will know it when I see it. I know it's a vague answer, it's not a good answer, but I have to at least try.
Then she kind of walks around the painted table, and it takes her a while to get over the top of the table, and she kind of circles towards where you guys are, which is about where the guy is in the picture. And she's like, she nods and she's like, will you go directly, or will you help me take Storm's End before you go?
Aroldis really kind of thinks for a moment. As I know you do not answer to me, but how long until you decide to set sail for Storm's End?
She kind of shrugs and she's like, I could not say. Months? Weeks? It depends what my generals will tell me.
I will be back in time to sail for Storm's End. That I promise.
And she nods and she says, then you should leave after the ceremony.
Ceremony?
And she looks down at the egg and looks at all you three, and she's like, you are going to witness the first dragon being born in, well, hundreds of years.
That shall be a sight I definitely wish to see.
And she kind of clutches the dragon egg and holds it close, and she says, "Is there anything else you wish of me before I, well, meet my child?"
No, Your Grace. Sorry, they don't make Valyrian Ravosi blades.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
I'll settle for Castle Forged.
She might have some Valyrian she can melt down for you. We'll see.
With dragon fire.
Hell, they did it to ice.
Why not?
So she looks.
Hey, doesn't?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, doesn't she own like the entire west coast of Essos?
Yep.
I'm sure she can find another. What's that guy's name? Mott was his last name. I'm sure she can find his equivalency.
Yeah. You just need the steel. But yeah. So she looks at Claire and Shadrack, and she's like, "And you two?"
Well, one of these days I'll have to get around to seeing what Ian's provided for me per ships, as he would say. But I wouldn't be I'd have to speak to the now Lady Spire, and he kind of points at Claire half-handedly, and I honestly am here for the money, and to see that this interesting proposal you've brought before me, Queen Daenerys. I might find some benefit to being in this new queen's army, the rightful queen of Westeros, as they say.
She smiles and she says, "I think you will find things that will work in your favor so long as you are loyal and a leal servant."
And he just kind of gives like a wide smile at that as he looks over at Claire, and I plan on being nothing but the sort. Besides, where would I run to now? My boat is gone, my men are gone.
Claire kind of chuckles and looks at Shadrack and says, I think we can find you plenty of boats to play with.
And those boats will be sailing to Shipbreaker's Bay before long. So prepare yourself, Shadrack.
Oh, I plan on it.
And she walks closer to Claire and reaches out and takes her hand and brings it up to her lips and kisses her top of her hand, and she's like, "And you, my dear?"
Claire looks at Danny wide-eyed. "I want to see the dragon."
And she smiles and she's like, "Then follow me." And so she walks out of the chamber of the painted table, and you can already tell there's a bunch of hoopla going on in the main chamber, which is this huge stone chamber. Alright, so I'm going to read something to you guys. Alright, so Queen Daenerys Targaryen, the last of the Targaryens, steps from her throne and walks with the dragon egg to the stone statues in the midst of her massive hall. The woman sits cross-legged in the middle of the floor as men build what can only be considered a pyre around her. Any words you might speak in protest are ignored or unheard by the queen. Eventually a man walks forth with a lit torch and sets the wooden tomb ablaze around the queen at the queen's command. Smoke billows out the chamber, obscuring what you can see. The queen is gone as far as you can tell. You are forced back away to cover your face from the fire that reaches high into the air, and smoke escapes out the windows and other places in the castle. Suddenly the earth shakes and you feel as if Dragonstone is being torn apart. "Look," someone explains, peering out the window. You see what appears to be a large serpent break free from the side of the castle and fly free. Ancient carvings of dragons and beasts seem to be coming to life and ripping themselves from the castle. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of such carvings across Dragonstones. It is unbelievable. Eventually, the castle stops shaking, and the memory of Daenerys comes back to you. The smoke ever so slowly clears. In the middle of the room sits Daenerys, her platinum hair burned away, her naked skin exposed as if the day she was born. On her shoulder is a thing the size of a cat. It was black and scaled with a tail and wings. It cried out, and a wisp of smoke billowed from its mouth. Daenerys looked out from the charred logs and tinder and says, "My son is born." As the screams of people from outside can be heard, you all wonder, what have you done? And so you can respond before the end.
Aroldis looks bewildered and goes, "Well, I'll be a son of a bitch."
That's Shadrack's response. Just
I suppose Claire kind of moves forward, wincing at the heat, sort of with the little dragon, and offers Daenerys her cloak or whatever outer garment to wrap up with. So.
And she reaches out and takes it and kind of hoists it over her other shoulder as the dragon kind of screeches once more and looks out, and you kind of hear just like terrible screams outside, and in the distance see all these shapes kind of flying every which direction. And that is it.
That ought to make reclaiming the castle pretty easy.
out of combat, Aroldis looks over to Shadrack and goes, "Am I the only one with a huge erection right now?"
No, definitely not.
Yep. Don't want any of those questions answered about everything that broke off the castle.